Hello, this is Dr. G at the Heart of Healthcare coming to you with episode 42, bonus episode 42, hashtag HAPSY24 highlights. And I have my friend here from HAPNA, nurse Erin Collins. She was also a part of the annual assembly. So we're going to do the same interdisciplinary marriage of HPM and HAPNA here on the podcast. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Yay! And let me tell everyone, this is also gonna commemorate the 1 year anniversary of Dr. G at the Heart of Healthcare, which was rebranded and released April 9th of 2023. And this will also be the final episode before we jump into season 2. So this is exciting.
It is. Congratulations, Dr. G.
It's been fun, providing the education and empowerment for our community, as you know, and as you do, is so important. And so I'm just grateful to have a platform to share with people and we can easily give it to them. And so happy to be a part of the work with you.
That's great. Yeah.
So let's talk about you. So you are doing a lot of things up there in Oregon. So would you tell my audience about your organization? I know you've been a nurse. You told me you've been a nurse for 17 years, and then you went from oncology into hospice and palliative care, and now you have this amazing organization that you run, a nonprofit. So tell us about that.
Yeah, you bet. Our organization is called the Peaceful Presence Project. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we offer end-of-life education. We offer end-of-life and advanced care planning, and we have a collective of 15 end-of-life doulas. So we provide bedside support for individuals and families in the community who just need a little different or extra support as they navigate serious illness and end of life.
I love what you said while we were, preparing for this, how you in your book you help people create a plan to have
Yeah,
more of a pleasant death because people know about birth plans, right? I just
right.
recently was helping my sister with my niece, newborn baby, that's hard work. And we
Yeah,
put a lot of work into the birth plan, but not a death plan. So you guys do
exactly.
that with them?
Yeah, so we really found that folks, I mean, really, when I came to this work, I found that there was so much suffering that arose because the folks hadn't talked about their mortality. They definitely hadn't planned for it. And so whether it was for that individual or for their family members, there was so much that was kind of just unknown and there was so much uncertainty. And so when we came together as an organization, we wrote a book called Endnotes, and it's what we call a guidebook. And it really creates a space or kind of one centered place where people can go through checklists to collect all their documents that they might need. And then they can create, like you said, an end of life plan, and also leave letters and write notes to their family members, do some emotional and spiritual work around dying and death. Like you said, it creates more of a celebration of the end of their life. Um, like we celebrate birth and we put so much energy and here's this full completion circle of life. And so we wanted it to be more thoughtful and celebratory.
Wow, what a beautiful work. That is going to be in the show notes because you are today's valuable resource. So I'll have links to those for our listeners. Two other super important things I have to mention before we jump into our show notes, our actual flow today is we share February birthdays. So happy
Yes, we
belated birthday to
do.
you.
Yes, fellow Aquarian.
February 13th, February 15th, and you're a yogi. Tell me
Yeah.
about your yoga practice.
Yeah, so I've been practicing yoga since 1995 actually, and I it was a big part of how I came into nursing. It's a big part of how I came into being an end of life doula as well as having my spiritual foundation through the practice of yoga, beyond just the physical. But I have a daily personal practice and I teach yin yoga classes twice a week. And I'm so excited to know that you are also a yogi.
Well, I don't know if I could take that title, but I definitely
Yes.
want to stay on the journey, and I can tell the difference in the days that I don't do it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do some good poses in a couple years. All right, well, let's just jump into the annual assembly. So we met
Yeah.
in Phoenix at one of those great sessions. The one talking about the family, but we'll get to that stuff. But
Yeah.
that's where we met. We had the annual assembly of the American Academy of Hospice and Palliative Medicine and the Hospice and Palliative Care Nursing Association. We got together at the Phoenix Convention Center, and we had a wonderful few days. I really loved the pace of it this year. Um, I went to Montreal last year, but I really love the pace this year. What do you think of that?
I agree. I was also in Montreal and it just felt so packed that you couldn't do it all. And this week or this year, it definitely felt like you could get to the sessions that you wanted to. And there was really good energy this year and a lot of inspiration, I think.
It was. It really, really was. So, well, today, audience, we just want to kind of go day by day and share some of our takeaways. Some of you who follow me on social media, you will see that I did live tweet, or I can't call it live tweet. I have to say live X. I don't know.
I don't know.
I did. I have sessions. So under the hashtag HAPSY24, you'll see that on X. And then I usually do a summary every day on LinkedIn. So you guys can find that, and I'll plan to put together a mini little review, um, you know, in the when I release this on the anniversary of the podcast. So let's jump in. So we're just gonna tag team and kind of share our takeaways or teaching points from each day. And we started on that Wednesday and we'll go all the way to Saturday. So let's go. Wednesday was just the kind of opening reception. Did you make it on Wednesday, Erin?
So I got in late. My flight was delayed. So I actually I ended up at a good gathering of hospice and palliative nurses. So
Where? Can you tell us?
we were at Marco's, I think it was called.
Okay.
Monsanto, something. It was an Italian restaurant across the street from the convention center. And Dr. G, what that really brought up for me was how wonderful it is to get together with your people and to be able to talk about what brings you the most, what you're passionate about. Because for so many folks, they're back home and they're having difficulties with their programs or with policies, and to be able to come together and find that sense of connection and belonging. So that was what was really big for me. And I don't know if you felt that at the opening reception.
I did, on that first night. Well, the first person I ran into was my friend Ben, who's in charge of HAPSI virtual didactics, and someone I met online. I echo what you're saying about the assembly is about being with the people, our tribe. I remember my mentor last week was
Yeah,
like, "This is your tribe.
yeah,
Meet with people, go to dinner, do things like that." And that's what it's for. I think we need that inspiration from the wear and tear we get from the year. We love our work, we're passionate about our work, but it is heavy lifting, taking care of families in their, when they're bearing a loved one, when they're in their grief. And so
yeah,
I was really looking for that inspiration. I got it on the last day just to feel those tingles inside. I kind of call it
yeah,
when your heart tingles and you
yeah.
feel refreshed. And so I got some of that too. So yeah, day one, just meeting people, taking pictures. I saw my NHPCO people. I saw the hospice medical director board people and got to see a few posters. Really excited about the sickle cell disease work group that I'm a part of. And we're really, trying to amplify palliative care being engaged in that. And
Awesome.
so that's going to be hopefully some exciting new things coming up. Saw the outgoing president and also just a bunch of folks that, we kind of see each other in passing online, but we were able to hug and kind of say hello. So Wednesday was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
likewise.
Yeah. And I love how we didn't have to do the time zone thing. So we kind of got
I
lucky
know
this
that was
year.
nice. We got real lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, so then the opening keynote we had, but first they did a few awards. So I have to give a shout out to the
Oh, yeah.
Hospice Medical Director Certification Board that got the Presidential Citation Award. And so it was really wonderful to be honored by the leadership of the Academy and all the work that's being done to have quality hospice leadership and agencies in our country because we've been under a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so that first session, compassionate storytelling, that was a really good one. I mean, it was nice to see. What was her name, Rakia
Rakia
from
Reynolds, I think her name was. Yeah.
yeah, from the entertainment industry. It was really really good stuff that she taught us that day.
Yeah. She was super passionate and impassioned and really brought the energy up, I think.
Yeah, what did you? What was your favorite thing on that day?
For me, what really stood out was the interprofessional spiritual care education curriculum that Betty Farrell has produced, similar to LNEC, and they're really doing some work to get everybody to have some level of skills in how to provide spiritual care. I think we heard it over and over that we all, as interprofessional team members, do a little bit of everything. And this curriculum is really cool. And I think one of the two big takeaways from it. One is that it's really our own spiritual practice that's
Mhm.
important, because just like in our yoga practice, what gives you the grounding to be able to do this work? Right? This is tough work, and to not get thrown off, that we really have to address our own spiritual practice, our own spiritual needs. And then the second part was just about how simple it can be to ask a question. What gives you meaning and purpose?
Mhm.
That's really, it's not just, you don't have to just be asking about someone's religion, but what gives them meaning and purpose? What's going to help them navigate this road? And so that was a beautiful takeaway about how everybody on the team can address spirituality. How about you?
That's
What happened on
that.
Thursday?
Yeah, for me, I really, really appreciated the topic finding compassion within compassionate release
Oh,
for
yes.
patients who are incarcerated
Yeah.
and at the end of life and how the work that's being done there. So I just took it as an opportunity to learn about it because underserved communities is something that, is really important for me to advocate for. And so it was just wonderful to learn about some of the documentation and some of the ways to get engaged. One of my colleagues actually told me about a movie that we could watch to learn more about it. I don't have it handy, but it was just really, really, that's one that stands out to me, just learning
Yeah.
about that, because
Yeah.
what are they doing? How does that work? And I know, everyone has their different, political backgrounds and all that, and I respect those. But we do human work, right? And so how are
Yes.
we as humans, addressing those as they are saying goodbye to this world? And so anyway, learned a lot from that session.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we went to, seems like it went more fast
I know.
now
I
that I'm
know.
talking about it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then let's see. So then that was Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah.
Man, that day just flew by. And of course, I saw a lot of friends. I don't want to take away
Yes.
from all the people I saw in the hallway, people I had lunch with, people I had smoothies with. I did all that stuff too. But then now let's move to Friday. Let's see. That was a good keynote. I think you
Oh
wanted to
my
talk
gosh.
about that
I
morning
did. Oh
keynote.
my gosh. Well, first of all, Mary Lou McPherson got an award
Yes.
from HPNA, which is so well deserved for the amazing work that she does, with pharmacology and with palliative care education. And I thought her keynote was really about teamwork. And we talk about it as we are part of an interdisciplinary team. We're part of an interprofessional team. And then she had this term, transdisciplinary teamwork, that was so amazing. Really saying that again, we all do all of the work all of the time. We're all doing a little bit of spiritual care, doing a little bit of social work, doing a little bit of nursing. And so if we look at that, the whole thing of what we're doing, providing whole person care, doesn't matter who's doing it or when. It's that we're all doing it together to best serve the needs of the patient. And it's through collaborating and communicating that we provide the most compassionate care. And I really loved the way that she described it all and just made everybody feel like everybody belongs on the team. Everybody has a part to play, whether it's directly what you're saying that is what you're trained in, or just a little piece of somebody else's discipline.
I love it. I think she said 10%, right? I
Yeah.
have the slide here,
Yeah.
and I saw she had the various little graphics. She went from multidisciplinary to interdisciplinary, which we like to use, but transdisciplinary really took it to the next level.
Yeah.
And she said it's the highest functioning teams are transdisciplinary, and
Yes.
blurring those lines, and I think that's great. She has a wonderful sense of humor.
She
I
does.
enjoyed hearing from her.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And we loved seeing she had all these photos of her needlework. I don't know how that woman ever does that, but she's real passionate about all of her extracurricular activities too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the one I met you at that stood out to me that
Yes.
day was when differences in belief intensify family tensions at a decision making crossroad. And that was
Yeah.
actually put on by a doctor and a chaplain. They told a story. Was it down in Alabama or Mississippi?
Or
One of those
Atlanta, I
deep south,
think. Yeah, deep south, somewhere deep south.
one of those states down there. And what I can recall is just some really intense um, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs that was affecting the patient, and then also the dynamics of the family and those beliefs, how that was affecting the patient, and it actually changed over time too. Remember, the patient in their example really didn't want to participate in the treatments because she felt like, if God wants me to go, then I'm going to go. But then her daughter's like, well, if God gave the doctors the treatment, why wouldn't you take it? And
Yeah.
then they just kind of walked us through that. It was really powerful.
Yeah, it was really powerful and really spoke to the heaviness that comes up around these decisions and how we can't discount any member of the family, the patient, the care team, how much those decisions weigh on everybody.
Yeah. And I really appreciate how she even went through the nuance, like, of the intersectionality of this patient was a Black woman, and how that culture was engaged in there.
Yeah.
And that can be helpful because not every one of our colleagues is going to have an experience like that, but they can directly take away things from that session to show up in that environment, and
Yeah.
make sure they're culturally competent, have cultural humility. And I just love that. That's what I love about these sessions. Everyone can learn something and take it away to their practice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
colleague sit next to me who is from Atlanta, and he said, "Oh, he said these kind of conversations happen all the time." He's like, "This is like multiple times a day for me," and for someone who's not deep in the South to not have those every day, like you said, to be able to learn from this lived experience is truly what makes the assembly so helpful and
Yes.
resourceful.
Yes. Yes. So awesome. And then let's say we had a couple forums that day. I'm a part of the Black Professionals, Patients and Families Forum. So it was good to be in there, and we talked about, the sickle cell work group and some ways that we can increase representation for medical students and residents and things of that nature, and support each other. So it was a really good time. And then we had the DEI reception that day. So I don't know what you had that night, if you had anything
Well,
fun.
I do have one thing that was great. We had the Hospice and Palliative Nurses Association. We had our membership meeting there and had a really great opportunity to ask questions or make comments at the end. And I just want to say I don't have this person's name, but if they're listening, I really hope they understand how much I appreciated what they said, that in 1974, there was a mandate for labor and delivery nursing education, a semester of education for labor and delivery. And that was during the baby boom. Now, all the baby boomers are at the end of their life, and yet we don't have mandated end of life education yet. And so it is time. That was just like such a call to action for me in advocacy for nursing education. It's time to get, you know, part into every curriculum, end of life and palliative care curriculum, so that every nurse knows how to take care of these baby boomers who are booming now. They're aging so quickly, and this is who's dying in our country, and we need to be able to take care of them.
Wait a minute. So you guys just have to learn it on the fly?
So it's not, there's no requirement for end of life education at all right now. And so there are a lot of movements. LNEC was created to, and so a lot of schools use LNEC in their curriculum. There's more and more. The Nursing Essentials has now said that palliative and end of life care is one of their 4 spheres of focus for a nursing education, but that's not a mandate. That's not saying that to be an accredited program, you have to have a term of any length of palliative or end of life education. So it's definitely a place that we need to move forward in. Yeah, but a lot of nurses learn it on the fly, unfortunately. I remember my first patient, I was working in an oncology unit and had a patient who was dying and just had to figure it out.
What an angel. This can be a call to action to these accrediting organizations. So I know in medical education for physicians, it has become a part of the ACGME requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Who accreditates nursing schools? Do we
So
know
it's
which?
the AACN, the
Okay.
American Association of Colleges of Nursing. So I
Okay.
think I think HIPAA's going to be working on that for sure.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we're saying it here.
We're
All
saying you heard it
right.
here first.
All right. Well, wonderful. And I know, you have a lot of things online that educate them. So that's
Yeah.
good. And we
Yeah.
have some of our favorite friends online providing great education, online. So we need to get it in the education though. So let's get
Yeah.
it done. All right. So now are we still on Friday or we moved to Saturday?
That was Friday. That was still Friday. We got one more
Wow.
day to go.
Yay, Saturday. So Saturday, I watched a lot of things remote in the morning, the
Yeah.
wards and the fellows getting um, their things. How about you?
Yeah, same. I saw a couple of um my colleagues, Heather Coates and Tracy Fossolino, who became fellows of the Hospice and Palliative Nurses Association. They got their awards, and then I just attended one session that day. It was the last day, and I attended about the weight of surrogate decision making. And it was
I was in there too.
yeah, so powerful. 4 women from Wisconsin who really gently and beautifully walked us through a case study, and just demonstrated how, as professionals, we can really be supportive, and that is our role, is to support and to lighten the weight that these decision makers are carrying by
Mm,
helping them to make those decisions, by making recommendations gently so, and then supporting whatever decision it is that they make.
yeah. That was powerful. And I was so glad to go to that one because we have National Healthcare Decisions Day coming up
Yes.
on April 16th, and we're gonna do a season 2 premiere on that. So I really wanted to get the other side, the
Yeah.
surrogates who are there. And I have one of their slides that they mentioned about surrogates. They said words surrogates use to describe
Mm,
their experience: overwhelming, painful, devastating, difficult, intense, traumatic.
yeah.
When they have to make the decision, on what happens with their loved one, it's not an easy task. I know I recently had a personal family experience, someone was in a tragic accident, and then the siblings having to decide, what to do, wanting to sleep on the information that they received from the doctors. And I'm grateful I was able to translate some of that into lay language for them, but it was a lot for
Yeah.
them, before they knew. And so we really have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. That's what really got me into this work in the beginning, was seeing the weight that was being carried by decision makers, and how could we work a little bit differently upstream to get people to talk about these things before it's a crisis and make a
Hmm.
plan before it's an emergency, like your friends, right? Before you're having to have all this weight, just trying to decide what in the moment, what's right. Um, that as professionals at the bedside, I think we can really empathize and be able to better support folks just through our listening ears.
Yes, yes. And I want to share their summary because I think it was
Yeah.
great. They said being a surrogate decision maker, no, excuse me, being in a surrogate decision maker role has the potential to create short and long term negative emotional burdens. Mitigating the potential burden of the surrogate decision maker role includes attending their support needs, using ethical constructs as guideposts, and engaging in therapeutic communication. You said it there.
Mm. Yeah.
You said it there. So, how far upstream do you work in the things you do to create better plans?
As far upstream as possible, right? Sometimes we have really young folks. We've done events at breweries where we get people to come and talk about advanced directives. So that's really far upstream. But hopefully, in a lot of cases, we get referrals from palliative care. So at time of diagnosis, and our doulas are able to help navigate the whole journey through treatment for serious illness towards hospice, and then through end of life and doing follow-up bereavement care as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic work. Well, the place after that where I did get my inspirational moment was at the final session I attended. It was the opportunities and challenges of establishing palliative care in
Mm,
sickle cell disease. What's our role?
excellent.
And one of the leaders and one of the people on the panel, she shared a practice that she does with these patients because a lot of times they deal with a lot of challenges. They face a lot, sometimes being labeled as drug seekers and things of that nature, and just having a lifetime of engagement in a healthcare system, which becomes burdensome for folks like that. And so she said when she goes to see a patient, she says, I know you're not feeling your best, but could you show me a picture of yourself when you're
Mm,
not sick? And I was like, that is just wonderful, like
I
a
love
wonderful way
that.
to connect with someone because they're gonna, they'll be like,
Yeah.
okay. And then they show you, and then it kind of just helps humanize them. And she
Yeah.
said some people even bring a picture and put it on the nightstand in the hospital so that they're getting that better care. And I was like, that's a good practice for a lot of different areas in medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I remember when I was in oncology care, one of my first patients, and who I will remember forever, was a 19-year-old young man with sickle cell. And I ended up caring for him over the years through two different hospitals. And he was so young, and a lot of the folks on our unit were much older, with cancers. And in a similar way, he brought in so much. He brought in video games, he brought in music, and he brought in a lot of friends. And that allowed us to see him beyond his sickle cell, that he was a young person before he was a person living with sickle cell. So
Mm-hmm.
to your point, we could see all of our patients that way, right? And do so much better, by seeing them first as who they are, not what they're living with.
Absolutely. I think that's the first step in alleviating their suffering, just
Yeah,
connecting. So
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Well, Well, I thank you for all the work you do. And I just want to mention more about a Peaceful Presence project. First of all, you're on the End of Life Doula Council for the NHPCO. Thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Um, and I have your little quote here about your organization. It says, "We provide non medical, thoughtful support to individuals and families facing serious and terminal illnesses." And then you have the guidebook called EndNotes, that is evidence based. And End of life doula, serving families at the other end of the life cycle, and giving the best advice for the non-medical end of life doulas and all that stuff. So it's great work you're doing. So any
Thank
last
you.
thoughts?
Oh, I just am grateful for you and grateful for you having this avenue as well to share and, like you say, to educate and empower people and get the information out there. And I'm so glad we met at the annual assembly. And if not before, then we'll see each other next year, but hopefully before then. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's super powerful to be able to do this work and to do it in good company. And that's what the annual assembly reminds us of.
Hey, I have nothing else to say. You said it all. So thank you, listeners. Thank you for this wonderful season. And I think it's perfect to end on reviewing our highlights from the annual assembly. And we want to just sign out. Peace, everyone. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.